Good morning, I am Sudha, Assistant Professor, PG and Research Department of Computer Science. My topic, .NET Technologies under ADO.NET. What is meant by ADO.NET? ADO.NET object model the data in database through data provider. The data provider is a set of components including the connection, command, data reader, data adapter, objects. An application can access data either through dataset or through a data reader object. Overview of .NET in ADO. ADO.NET Introduction. Creating a connections to a database, displaying data in a list, bound, control. What is ADO.NET? Using namespace, ADO.NET object model, what is dataset, accessing data with ADO.NET, identifying the ADO.NET components. What is ADO.NET? ADO.NET is a Microsoft.NET is a latest improvement of ADO.NET, was introduced in 10th version. .NET framework which is used to establishing the connection between the application and data source. ADO.NET provides a set of classes for working with the data. ADO.NET provides a system design for disconnected environments, a program model with advanced XML support, a set of classes, interface structures and enumerations that manage the data access from within the .NET framework. .NET framework programs. ADO.NET provides a rich set of components for creating, distributing, data sharing applications. It is an integral part of the .NET framework, providing access to the relational, XML and application data. How to create a database? Displaying data from database. Creating SQL connections object using the connection string. Handle the expression. Open the connection. Creating SQL commands. Executing the commands. Finally, we got the result from SQL data reader and close the connection, process the result. This is a basic concept for ADO.NET. We using the namespace for importing a statement of .NET. Importing system.data, importing system.data.SQL client. Namespace used in ADO.NET including system.data is system.data.SQL client, system.data.OLEDB. In ADO.NET for ActiveX data object, it allows us to connect underlying data or databases. It has classes and methods to manipulate the data. .NET application that use ADO.NET to connect a database, executing the command and data from the database. There are three types of process: ASP.NET Web Applications, Console Applications and Windows Applications. Various connections of architecture in database. They are using the two types of connection architecture. Connected architecture, in the application remains connected with the database throughout the process. Disconnected architecture, the application is automatically connected or disconnected during the process. The application uses temporary data on the application site called dataset. We are using the object model, dataset, data table, SQL data adapter, OLEDB data adapter, OLEDB.NET provider, OLEDB connections, OLEDB sources, SQL server, SQL connections, SQL.NET data provider. In .NET applications, there are many processes: web applications, Windows applications and control applications. Here are the three types of applications using. In ADO.NET, we are using a system.data.SQL client, system.data.Oracle client, system.data.OLEDB, object linked embedded database, system.data.ODBC, connection class, command class, data reader, data adapter and dataset. In ADO.NET. In database, we are connecting a SQL server, Oracle, OLEDB, ODBC data. In this diagram, we can see in the various types of applications. There are three types of applications we are using in .NET. ADO.NET for connecting the database. Important classes in ADO.NET. We are observing various classes in the process: connection class, command class, data reader, data adapter, dataset. What is meant by connection class? In dataset, we are using a data table, data adapter, SQL adapter, SQL server, OLEDB connections, web server memory, physical storage in database. Accessing data in ADO.NET, web server and database client process. Connection classes, command classes. First, connection classes we discuss. In ADO.NET, we use these connection classes to connect a database. These connection classes also managing the transaction and connection pooling to connect the database. We using the connection class. In command class, providing methods for storing and executing SQL statement and store procedure. Various commands that are executed by command classes. In command classes, there are 4 processes. Execute reader. Execute reader return the data client as row. SQL selector commands are store procedure that contains one or more selector statements. This method return a data reader object that can use to fill a data type, data table. Objects are used directly from the printing reports. Next one, execute command. Execute non-query. Execute a command that changes the data in database such as update, delete or insert a statement. This is an execute non-query. Store procedure that contains one or more these statements. This method returns as an integrated number of rows affected by the query. Execute scalar. This method only returns a single value. This is called execute scalar. This kind of query returns a count of row or calculate a value. XML reader. SQL client classes only. Data from SQL server database using XML stream. Return XML reader object. Next one, data reader classes. The data reader is used to retrieve data. It is used to command classes to execute the SQL statement and then access the return rows. Data adapter is used to connect the dataset to database. A data adapter is most useful using database controls in Windows Forms, but it is also used to provide an easy way to manage the connection between your applications and underlying database table. View the process of data adapter in table. Client make the request, create the SQL connection, SQL data adapter object, dataset from the data adapter and close the connections. Return the dataset to the client. List of boundaries controls. Manipulate the data, update the dataset using the SQL data adapter to open the SQL connections, update the database and close the connections. In dataset, they are using the following process. Select command, data reader command to select. Update the commands from the connections. Insert the commands and delete the commands. Dataset. Dataset is the heart of ADO.NET. The dataset is essentially a collection of data table objects. In turn, each object contains a collection of data column and data row object. The dataset also containing a relation collections that can be used to define the relation among the data table object. What are the list bounders controls? Displaying the dataset in these bounded controls. Drop down list, list box, checkbox, radio button, data grid, data list, repeater. These are the listed bounded controls used in ADO.NET. Controls to connect the data source and display the data. Displaying dataset in the list of bounded controls. Dataset contain the data member, data table in dataset, data text field, the field data table that is displayed, data value field, the data table becomes the value of selected item in this list. Database connection, connecting to the database, accessing data with the dataset, multiple tables, accessing data with data reader. Dataset plus data reader. Read and write the accessing the data in dataset process. Read only processing data reader process. Multiple tables from different database. In data reader based on SQL statement from the one database. Disconnected dataset. Data reader can be connected. Bind to multiple controls. Bind to only control. Forward and backward scanning of the data in dataset. Only forward approach can be used in data reader. slower accessor in dataset, faster accessor in data reader. SQL Server Security, creating the connection. SQL is a web server, defaulted at ASPX settings, mixed mode of authentication, sending the username and password in the clear text. SQL server each user account added to the SQL Server login group. Web server, Windows authentications, Windows only authentications, client server process. Thank you.